mortgage is being paid, which means you're not paying any rent in that apartment that you're living. Right? That's something we all want. Of course, obviously, we don't want to pay no rent. Build up to no
Shalom to everybody coming in. I see I'm adding y'all in. I'm gonna go ahead and start the clubhouse room.
Shalom.
Shalom, King. What's going on? Yeah, so Katazar, what I was saying was I'll go ahead and I'll do some of the class. Hopefully we'll be able to get over it all, but at the end, like maybe around 2:00, 1:30, 2:00, I'll start taking in questions and just join the class. Just mark down any questions you may have, or other brothers on the panel that y'all may have. Just mark down all questions y'all may have, and at the end of the class, I could just ask it, openly, and then I'll answer any questions y'all may have and all that. So that's how we're gonna do that.
Okay, Khan.
Yeah, for those who watched the first video too, for those who watched the first video too, if you have any questions regarding that PowerPoint as well, I have the PowerPoint which I'm gonna cross-reference. Right, I have it in front of me. I'm gonna cross-reference right here, so I'm gonna cross-reference it with the new PowerPoint that I put together today. Right, so if you have any questions from the first one, you could ask those questions as well, in case you're confused about anything. So I'm giving people a chance to come in, a few more minutes. In the meantime, my job, my whole goal is to just really put information out there that brothers can research themselves, brothers can look into, brothers can actually use as a resource to get started in the real estate. You know what I'm saying? So anything I'm really putting out there today without any PowerPoint presentation I put together, it'll just be information and resources you can use, because a lot of people, they have a lot of people that may think that, you need a lot of money, you need great credit, things of that nature. So, there's a lot of information out there that you could look into that I'll be bringing out myself as well, so people could be well aware, that there's resources we could use for our advantage as well. Especially like if you're a veteran too, like if you're a retired veteran, or you from the military or whatever, retired, there's VA loans for you too. You have a lot of benefits in this, with the funding, dealing with, multifamily or first-time home buying program. So that's another thing, right? But we'll get into that. Right. Let me see. Somebody asked if anybody can hear me. Can y'all hear me? Mic check. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Khan.
Okay, come.
Khan.
Come. All praises. Hey, Zakaria, if you could put the link for the YouTube on top of the clubhouse. I don't know how to do that. Let me see. Okay, give me a second. Let me make you up. Got you. You got the green bean now.
And just like that, it's right at the top.
King Toda. Yeah, so I'll just give people a couple more times, a couple more minutes to come in. That request here. Yeah, maybe in about 3 or 4 minutes we'll get started. Right. In the meantime, mark down your questions. Even if you have a question right now, just mark it down. Some joint might pop up. Oh man, hold on, I forgot about this. I want to ask about this and that, whatever. Also, I'm gonna in case y'all missed it last time, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show y'all the link. Who's this? Somebody's trying to come in. Yeah, but I'm gonna post the link to the website where you can get these resources at. If you watch the first video, you already got the link, you know where to go. But I'll go ahead and just redo it in this lesson as well. see. This is add them to the stream. Boom. All right, like I said, we're giving brothers a few more minutes. You know, I don't want to have people miss certain things, and I got to go back and repeat a whole concept and everything. I'd rather just have everybody get it all at once. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna set up real quick here. Give me 1 second.
Hey family, shalom. If y'all in the room, in the audience, could y'all share the room? There's only one share so far. This is important information, right? We talk about all the other stuff all week long. Now it's time for something that can actually benefit some of us. This is a good conversation that more people should partake in. So, if you're in the audience, if you'd be so kind as just to share the room in the hallway so that people can come in and learn something. This is to our benefit. We don't get this type of education every day, especially not in school. They don't teach us this stuff, so we'd appreciate it throughout.
God, all praises, all praises. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna get it. I'm loading up this PowerPoint. Give me 1 second. I got background noise. Yeah, so I'm loading up this PowerPoint. Let me see. Oh, Johanna, want to be added to the stream as well. All right. Yeah, shalom to the brothers that just joined the panel. Hope everybody, blessed and all that. So I'm gonna share my screen. Right, for those on Clubhouse, if you want to see what I'm presenting, which is really the important part of the information, you could go ahead and follow the link on top. You can follow along with certain things I'm presenting, because certain things you have to look at, right? So certain things you have to look at, and you have to mark those down as well. So again, mark down your questions as I go. At the end of the stream, I'll go ahead and answer any questions people may have, and we could go from there, right? So I'm gonna share my screen on YouTube. 1 second. All right. Can anybody see my screen?
God, yeah.
Come, all praises. Right. So as you see in the PowerPoint, right, it says step-by-step guide on how to acquire an investment property. So some of the things we need to know, and some of the things that I'm going to get into, is how to look for a property, right? As we see right here listed, everything listed here, what to look for, what numbers are you calculating to see if it's a good deal, right? Setting up a team or a network, right? Questions to ask lenders when looking for the best offers, questions and documents to obtain from the agent, which works with the seller, right? The agent, if you know about an MLS listing, that just means property you look at online that's for sale. So these properties have an agent attached to it that's working with the seller to sell you these properties. So they're the point of contact between you and the seller, or the buyer and the seller, right? In other words. So these are the things we're going to go over, right? Because this is important information that we need to know, right? So let's go on to the next slide. Right, what you need to have in place first. So the first things you want to have in place are these things listed, which is one, the FHA program that will be funding your property, right? This is the first time home buying program that you go with according to your state, right? So just like the information that the website that I bring out, or that I was showing this PowerPoint, just like I showed in the last one, they'll give you a list of first-time home buying programs that can fund your property, right? And some of these programs, they require 3.5% down. But the beautiful thing is a lot of these programs also work with DPAs, which is down payment assistance programs, right? They put down that 3.5% down for you. So at the end of the day, going into the deal, you're not coming out of pocket with nothing. And these programs, they also cover the closing costs, right? The closing costs and also the inspection fees, which is important, right? You want to go into it with little as possible coming out your pocket and be able to reap the benefits of it, right? So renovations loans that the program offers, a lot of these programs, they offer renovation loans if there's renovation needed for the property. If you need to fix the property here and there with certain things, they'll give you those loans, and according to the terms and conditions, which we get into later, you'll calculate if it's a good deal or not. Right? Mortgage rates. When you get your list of first-time home buying programs, right? You're searching for mortgage rates. You're searching for the best mortgage rate, right? You're searching for the best, rate possible. You want the lowest rate possible because you want to pay, the lowest amount possible each month. So if anybody got a house, you have a mortgage rate, right? So that mortgage rate, that means what? That monthly, expense that you have to put towards the property. If you have an apartment, that expense would be rent, right? In other words, it's just property comes with insurance and taxes. That's the only difference, right? Another thing you want to have, or you're going to want to have, is a team, right? Or / network. And what do I mean by that? Next slide. Right? An agent that is showing you the property, who acts as the point of contact between you and the seller, right? A real estate attorney to go over your to go over your contract, closing costs, covered by program, and detailed information about the deal you're getting into. That's what the attorneys is for. And they usually go over the deals, they don't really charge you like that. They just go over the contract, let you know what you're getting into. Right, but it's always important to have relationships and networking, because later on down the line, what I'll be teaching as well is getting distressed properties, right, adding value to it and taking the equity out. In this case, you would need an attorney for those things that you would need down the line. But that's down the line. I'm showing y'all the basic information of getting into real estate without having to have any large amount of money down or anything like that. So that's what I'm going over. The next thing, general contractors, right, which is plumbers, electricians, carpenters, right? If you've seen the first slide, I went over a couple of these things. Matter of fact, let's go over it real quick. Right. Like I said, I'm gonna be doing a lot of cross-referencing. So I'll be going towards the first slides I did, just briefly to show show a point. So, right, this slide in the first previous PowerPoint presentation, I brought out that important things to know when looking to a property is the 5 data points, which is the HVAC system, foundation, electrical, plumbing, right, and the roofing and everything like that. So these are the things. If you're looking at the YouTube, these are the things that you would need to know what the condition is, right? Get familiar with it, because this is also the list of things that the inspector is going to give you after the inspection. So you would need, general contractors that would be able to do heating, ventilation, air conditioning, repairing if needed. Now, the whole point of going into a deal is not having to repair as much, because remember, you're using these programs to fund it. So the whole motive and the whole idea is to go into it with no money down, with nothing out your pocket, because even if you got to renovate something, you're getting renovation loans attached with the program, right? So you would need still these contractors in place in case you need, to do these kind of work, for the property to be a good deal. Later on, I'll show you how to calculate the property's ARV. Right, which you need to know that after repair values to see if you're adding value to it and if you could take something out. But continuing, right? So, Just like I pointed out in the bottom, it says the inspection list will give you all the information regarding the property, what needs to be fixed, the lifespan of what's in place, and any specific questions about the property's condition. Right. So again, general contractors for all these things that you may need. Sometimes it might be small things. Right. There might be a little something that you may need to, fix here and there. That doesn't even cost much, but you still need these general contractors to get it done. Unless you're an electrical person yourself and all that, unless you know about the foundation and plumbing and all that, get a licensed contractor. That's another thing. Get licensed contractors. How do you look for a good contractor? You look for a good contractor by asking them in certain questions as well. You want to see their resume. You want to see the work they put in. You want to see, let me see the last couple of properties you fixed. Let me see your, the last couple of pipes that you fixed. Let me see this. Let me see that. You want proof of their work as well. You don't want to just hire any contractor. That's important. Right. It's like, even like in jobs, right? They're looking for the people with the best resume and the best experience. That's the same thing with you. When you're hiring a contractor, in this case, you got to put yourself as you're the boss in the situation, and you're hiring people, right? That's how you got to look at it, really. So you want to make sure that people you're hiring, you're sure that these people are going to get the job done, that they have a resume, they have a reputation. You look into their company, you ask for business cards, you ask for websites, you look at reviews. All these things, you got to do your homework, right? And this is the part where people got to do their own diligence. I'm just putting it out there, what you need to know. Some things you need to put the groundwork in, right? So let's go back to the other PowerPoint, right? So that's part of your team and network, general contractors. Again, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, anything, any kind of skill that people have that you may need that has to do with fixing the property. Right, next slide. Right, so key questions to ask lenders offering FHA programs or first-time home buying programs, down payment assistance programs, and renovations loans, right? I mentioned earlier, when you're calling lenders up, you're asking them for the mortgage rates. You're looking for the best offer. So one of the questions you would want to ask them is, what is the mortgage rate? Right. I brought out too, this is important, family. It's brought out too that a lot of times when you call lenders, they're eager to do business with you, right? So you would have to kind of not be tricked by their flattery or their well-spoken manner, because they'll just offer you a application for you to submit. They'll run your credit, and then you just getting any mortgage rate, right? That you just, offered, or accepted blindly. You didn't even ask about the offer. You say, okay, I'll take whatever mortgage rate you got. And then you tied up with a mortgage rate when you could have searched somewhere else and get a better mortgage rate there. So, right. So the important thing is asking for the mortgage rate. What's the mortgage rate you guys are offering? Right. The next thing is, can I refinance in the future? So if you're using these loans, you want to see the terms and conditions. What are the terms and conditions that these programs have? Can you refinance out of the property in the future? Right? Because if you refinance, that gives you more flexibility, not only reusing the program, but it gives you flexibility in protecting your assets when you put it in a trust. Right? Which I went over the first PowerPoint presentation. The title trust is what we use to put the property in after put it in your name. But that's another slide, kind of course in itself. So another thing I want to put out there before I go on is, whatever I'm giving out right now is information we need to know, but this is not information where, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just get a property tomorrow. Nah, this is something you got to digest, make sure you know what you're looking at, you know what you're going, you have the knowledge going into it, because that's the biggest thing. I'm gonna stress that, and I'm gonna keep stressing that. Going into real estate, knowledge is the biggest thing that you need. Right? Knowledge is what's going to determine whether you should make a decision or not. Knowledge of everything that you're getting into is going to determine, okay, should I get into this or should I do that? Because one small mistake can cost you a little bit. Right? So you got to know what you're doing. It's like Monopoly. Right? Monopoly, you got to know what you're doing. If not, you're going to get yourself caught up. You're going to get yourself in debt, and you all because you didn't do your due diligence. So, and that's why I say that I teach these things whatever I know, and then I also ask I take questions and I answer questions, because a person that doesn't have questions, that's questionable. Okay, it's like, okay, you're not really getting it. It's not really resonating with you. A person that's asking questions, especially the right questions, those are the ones that's doing their due diligence, right? So questions is important, right? Moving on. Are there any, what are the terms and conditions for the, again, for the program? Can I refinance in the future? Are there any prepayment penalties? So prepayment penalty means, let's say if you refinance, that means you're getting a new loan from a new lender. That new lender pays off your old lender, and now you have a mortgage with your new lender. So a lot of times, you know, not so much on the residential side, that's more on the commercial side, but you still want to ask anyway, just to be sure. Prepayment penalties is if you pay off your loan too early, then there's a fee for that. Right, there's a penalty for that. That's why it's called prepayment penalty. You can't pay the property off too early if there is a prepayment penalty for a certain amount of time. It's usually 5 years, right? So what happens is if you pay it off, you know, before 5 years, then there's a penalty for that. So the first year is, they call it a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The first year is 5%, next year is 4%. The following year is 3%, so on and so on. I don't want to get too much into that. I don't want to get, you know, that's another thing, right? But prepayment penalties, that's what it is. That's the basic, you know, information and general knowledge on prepayment penalties. Meaning, if you pay off the property too early, even through a refinance, then that means that, you know, you've broken the deal and you owe a penalty. You owe some kind of money after that. Next one, can I use the same programs to get another multifamily in the future? Now, most programs do allow you to do this, but you want to make sure that your specific program that you're working with or looking into is a program you can also use in the future to get another 4 unit, right? Because one example of that is this. If you get a 4 unit, right? Let's say you get a 4 unit. 4 unit just means 4 apartments. 4 unit, 4 apartments, same thing. They just call it a 4 unit in real estate. So a 4 unit is basically a residential property, right? And it's considered a multifamily. So some programs can fund it and say, okay, you have to live in 1 unit for a year. Other programs might say you have to live in a unit for 2 years. Other programs may say 3, but 3 is mainly the limit, because after 3 years, if you haven't owned another property besides that, you are considered automatically a first-time home buyer, but you can reuse the program. But the goal is to try to reuse the program before those 3 years mark, right? You want to reuse the program as soon as possible, because the goal is to stack as much property as possible to get that passive income. Again, if you can use these programs to get a 4 unit each year, then that's a 4 apartment property that you're obtaining through these programs with no money out your pocket. So if you're getting, again, okay, so I'll do the calculation. I love doing calculations, right? Numbers talk. So if you get, let's say each year you could get a property that's making $2,000 in profit. That's NOI, net operating income. NOI means profit. It's another word for real estate you got to get used to, because the agent's going to tell you this is the NOI for this property. NOI, net operating income, that's just the profit of the property. So if a property is making $2,000, you could get one each year that's making at least, let's say, $1,500, right? Just to get a lower number, your next property is $1,500. I mean, that's good, right? So 2,000 plus 1,500, which right now, especially in the market, like this property's making way over $1,000, especially 4 units. That's easy, but I always like using the lower numbers just to, you know, make sure safe calculations, right? So let's say one property is making 2,000. Now you acquire 3 more properties that's making 1,500. So that's 2,000 plus 1,500 plus 1,500 plus 1,500, right? Plus 1,500. So was that 8,000 a month with the properties in total, right? So you got one is making 2,000, another one is making 1,500, another one is making 1,500. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 properties in total. You're making 8,000 a month, and that's just in 5 years if you're able to use the program each year for another property. So you're gonna keep going up after that. So the 6th year will be another 15, 2,000. The other year, there's properties right now, right? My agent, I'll show you later. My agent sent me a property, a 3-unit, which is making $3,600 a month, and that's a 3-unit. So if 4-unit was to be added, not only does the property, the value go up, but now the income goes up because that's another tenant that you're renting the apartment out to. Right. So let's go back to the PowerPoint slide. Right. So can I use the same program to get a known to multifamily in the future? That's another thing you want to ask, which again, most likely you are able to a lot of these programs. Another thing you want to know, right? When you find a property you are interested in, ask the lender for exact numbers, right? You would be paying a month, which is taxes, insurance, and principal. So the lender will be able to give you the mortgage rate and the exact number of what you're paying a month in total for the property. And then, of course, you do your calculation to see how much the property is generating, deduct what you have to pay from the gross of the property, and that'll be your profit. Okay, so let's do that calculation, right? And the PowerPoint slide goes into that too, but I just want to make sure I throw it out there so when you see it again, you're familiarized with it at least a little bit, right? So let's say, give me 1 second. Right, so let's say the property's making, again, let's say 2,000. The lender is charging you, let's say, 1,100 a month for the property. You're left with 900 in profit. Again, these are just generic numbers. You get the exact numbers from the lenders. A lot, the profit to a lot of these properties are way higher. I'm just using an example. Right, and even with a profit of 2,000, right, most likely that'll be a property which the mortgage would be a lot less than 1,100. I'm just using 1,100 as an example, right? So that's still a $900 profit, right, a month for that property. Again, the goal is you're stacking up property. You don't look at a number and be like, damn, that's, what I'm saying? Unless, again, this is what goes into your due diligence. Unless you find a better deal, and that's why you don't accept any deal that just comes by. Every deal is not a good deal. You got to analyze the numbers. You have to go into it, do your homework, ask questions, right? Go into details, know what you're doing, and then decide, what? The property looks nice, but the numbers ain't adding up. That's a no, right? Or the numbers ain't adding up, but the property is gorgeous. Nope, it's all about the numbers and also the condition of the property. You have to go and spending a large sum amount of money, which again, you don't want to, even though you have a renovation loan, you want to use that renovation loan wisely. Maybe a property that if you do have to renovate it, you add value and you could take out that equity because now the appraiser will come back with a higher value than it was appraised for originally when you purchased it, because you made renovations to it. Every time you make renovations to a property, you increase the value. So if you go in the deal increasing the value through a renovation loan, putting equity into it, you calculate the ARV, again, the after repair value, something I'll go into later on. But once you calculate what the after repair value is, then you're able to say, what, there's 30,000 in equity right there. I could refinance, cash out, and take out that equity. Right? And you're doing all this with no money down. Right? This is, this is how you, strategize and become, a knowledgeable person in real estate, not having to use your own capital, putting 20% down, 10% down, none of that, right? You can start off with real estate with just residential, 4 units, right? So that's an example. So the property is making 2,000, the mortgage is making 1,100, then your profit NOI is 900. So it's up to you. You know what? I'll pass. I'll look for another property, or 900 sounds good. That could pay my car note and my insurance and this and that. That's cool. Another thing is, too, if you go into the property, renovating the property, then guess what? The lifespan of those things that were fixed would be 20 plus years in most cases, right? That's the beautiful thing about if you renovate, some of the things in the property, you won't have to worry about fixing it. You won't have to worry about breaking down for a long time because it's brand new, right? So, going into the property, which I'll go into later as well, you would want to know the condition, the exact condition the property's in, which the inspection gives you that, but you want to go into it, because before you schedule an inspection, you got to go view the property, right? They'll tell you, listen, let's schedule a day and time for you to view the property. That's pre-inspection. That's not even the inspection. You going in there knowing what you're looking at and kind of being able to determine, okay, them pipes is old, that got to be fixed or whatever. But the best thing is if you have a general contractor going with you, he'll be able to tell you more or less, well, yeah, that's kind of old, or no, that's brand new. That should be good. And then the inspection will give you the exact details, but at least you're going into it knowing an idea, right? So when the inspection comes back, if everything's brand new, guess what? You ain't got to worry about anything really breaking down because it's brand new. Now, if you got to fix a few things, that's when you use the renovation loan to fix up those few things. You don't have to worry about that. But the whole point is you want to go in there knowing that you don't have to fix anything for the next 20 plus years. Right? So let's go on. So next slide says how to look for a property. Right? So as I mentioned in my first PowerPoint presentation, you go to one of the websites and search for multifamily properties. The multifamily properties you're looking for should have 3 to 4 units. In other words, 3 to 4 apartments. And why do you want 3 to 4 apartments? Because now the property is paying for itself. If you have a mortgage, right, because the only time you're making an income on the property is if you have tenants in it. If you have a single family house, that is only 1 unit, that's a liability. That's why it's much harder it's harder in terms of there's more requirements to acquire a single family house than a 4-unit multifamily, because a 4-unit multifamily, the lenders see that the property is paying for itself. So they count that as an income, right? As opposed to a single family house, they have to count your income and what you're making, because the property ain't making no income. Therefore, it's a liability. And that's why I always tell people it's better to invest in multifamily units. And later on, after you acquire a certain amount of properties where you're able to, the properties is paying your mortgage, you living rent free, even off a house, because you have other properties to pay for it, right? You could use the same program in the future for a single family house and then just continue to use it for, multifamily properties after that as well. So I always teach, listen, make your income higher and your expenses lower. So if getting these 4-unit properties will increase my income monthly, let me acquire as much properties as possible to increase my income, decrease my expenses, and I'm able to have extra. And guess what? These properties, if I do get a house, will be paying for my mortgage on that house as well. And anything you ever work for is yours to pocket completely, right? If you got a job, 9 to 5, which I always say, don't limit yourself. Okay, if you're making, passive income, or if you get to a situation where you good money in this, the real estate, you got enough properties making you $10,000 or above a month. I mean, listen, if you can get a job here and there, cool, get a job. I mean, sometimes, you want to stack up a little bit, right? Or if you got a skill set that's valuable, don't limit yourself, right? So let's read on. The FHA programs funds 1 to 4 units only, right? 5 units and above, or 5 apartments and above, is considered commercial. It's no longer under residential, right? 1 to 4 units is considered residential properties, right? 5 units and above is considered commercial property. So that's a whole different ball game that you can't use, because the first time home buy program is to people personally, right? So 5 units and above, you can't use that because it's commercial. Right, so the FHA program funds 1 to 4 units only, and since our goal is to have as many units as possible to generate income, we will look for a 3 to 4 unit. Sometimes they will have a 3 unit that is bringing in a good income and it's a good deal. The key is having more than 2 units, right? You want the property to pay for itself, and you want to have extra cash for yourself on side as well, right? If you have a profit, you pay all your expenses. If you have, some cash left over, then that's the best part. And you live in rent free because you're living in 1 unit, so you ain't even got to pay no rent. That's another benefit. If you get a property, you're looking for an apartment, you get a multifamily property with these programs, you have to live in 1 unit anyway. So you live in 1 unit, right? You live rent free. The tenants is paying your mortgage, they paying your expenses because they paying you rent. You have a little cash left over in your pocket, and guess what? You have a roof over your head. So again, anything you work for is for other stuff, food, utilities, gas, maybe, right? So again, you know, it's all about the information. So let's read on. Contact the agent to find out more information about the property. Usually the website has their contact information. So if you go to LoopNet, right, I have it here in the bottom, LoopNet, Zillow, Redfin. These are just some, you know, 3 of many websites you can find property in. But normally, you know, I usually look at these 3 before anything, right? Redfin I usually use to determine the after repair value as well, right? To compare properties to see the worth of the properties. So let's go on to this website real quick, right? So if you go to LoopNet, right, you go ahead and go to the filters. You filter out multifamily. So right here, I have a 3-family property, right? 3-unit apartment building, all for that $399,000 at 6.10% cap rate in New Haven. So to see the information to this property, you look down, right? You scroll down in the website. They tell you investment highlights, right? Spaces, walking distance to Yale and downtown New Haven, nearby amenities at your fingertip, whatever, right? You go down, and right here, attachments, income and expenses. That's what you want to look at, because again, if you let's say, okay, 3-unit, let's see how much this property's making a month, and let's see what the expenses are, right? That's what you want to look at. So normally, if the website don't have it, again, we found it here, right? But if the website don't have it, these are the questions and information you ask from the lender. So you would ask the lender what the income and expenses are if the website doesn't have it, right? So as we see here, the expenses, the income, the gross, the NOI, right? At this point, let's see. So the gross income, right, is 17,000. I mean, Slakia, my bad, 57,600, right? So the total, let me see. Let me scroll down for quick. So you see here the total expenses. You see the kind of expenses you would have to pay on the property, and some of it don't apply if it's not set up that way. Because again, like look at this property, right? The landlord right now, he's paying electric and gas. That's something that you can alternate when you get into a deal and you renew the contract to the tenant, right? You tell them, listen, electric and gas, it's all tenant paid now. All utilities is tenant paid, right? Even a lot of property that you look at, a lot of them, it's already all utilities tenant paid. So that's another thing you want to look at too. Are the utilities paid by the tenant, or are they paid by the landlord? So you see the landlord pays normally about $500 in electric and gas a month, right? He pays water, maintenance, unless you're doing the maintenance yourself, then you'll probably have to pay somebody for maintenance. But normally it's just sweeping, mopping, certain things like that. Make sure the grass is cut once in a while. You know what I mean? If it's snow, you send somebody out there, but the property pays for itself and he leaves you with extra profit. And so you're able to cover those things. The property pays for everything, right? So, right, real estate taxes, right? So these are the expenses right here. So right here says what? The net operating income, right? You see the principal and interest points, right? The whole net operating income right here says $37,000, right? $37,174, right? And these are so you do the math, right? And then what you want to do is you do the math, see if it adds up, and then you contact the agent, and then you ask for rent history, right? The 4-month rent history is what you use, right, to see what the income to the property is, because every landlord got a bank statement where they're receiving the rent in. So you say, okay, if they saying this makes this amount, let's see what the rent history says, and let me calculate the rent history in total to see if it adds up to what they're saying it makes each month, right? Because a person could tell you, look, it makes $3,600 a month, it makes $4,000 a month, and then you look at the bank statement, it's only making $2,000. Right. Now, I'm not saying that happens often. That's a common thing. But if you don't do your due diligence, these are things you can be blindly not seeing. Right. It could be maybe $400 or $500 off. That's still a lot of money. $400 or $500. You could use that. Right. So you don't want nothing unturned. You want to make sure you're going well aware of everything, every number, every expense to the cents. I don't give a damn if it's $5.01. I'm counting that 1 cent, my man. You know what I'm saying? That 1 cent means a lot. Right? You know, when you from the bottom and you cherish, hard work and you go out there, you work for every penny you got, you appreciate it more, right? So, me coming from the hood, let's not count that penny. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so this is the kind of information you want to have, right? As you see in the website, it's giving you all the information you need for the property. And you want to confirm that not only with the rent income on the bank statements, but you also want to confirm it with the expenses. Let me see the history of the expenses, right? You want to know exactly how much the expenses are. So let's exit this real quick. All right. Right. And so again, you see on the side here, it says contact this agent, right? Vanguard has a number. It says contact. So you can email them or call them. Me personally, I like to call. I like to get straight to the business. No BSing, right? Direct questions. Yo, it's big. What's going on? I need this. I need that. What about this? What about that? Okay, I'm going to schedule a day to see it. Bum. I'm like, hey, how you doing? You had coffee today? What's your favorite Snicker bar? Or I'm not into that, right? So I like calling. What's going on? Hey, boom. Ask them the questions. I want the income and expenses. I want to schedule a date to see it, right? And in the meantime, you also ask them just to confirm what they say. What's the income and expenses? You always want to confirm things. You want to make sure yourself, right? And when you scroll down here, you can see more information. Right. Average occupancy 100%. You also want to ask them if it's 100% occupied. Right. If you don't see it on the website, you want to ask them if it's 100% occupied. You want to ask them if there's any storages that any tenants may be renting out to the landlord, because if they're renting out the storage and then you become the new landlord, you're not aware of that, then you're losing out on money they're supposed to be paying you to rent out that storage. And then you start asking them, whose stuff is this? Or, whatever. And you don't know. So you want to go into it knowing that too. Right. What else you need to know about the website? Right. Show you common things, new transportation, New Haven station, commuter rail. I'm just using Connecticut as an example because that's where I live at right now, right? Connecticut. So, and that's how you really look for property, right? You go on the website, you search for it, boom, look for certain things on the website, and if they don't have it on the website, you go to the agent directly and ask them. So, going back to the PowerPoint slide, right? Contact the agent to find out more information about the property. Usually, the website has their contact information, so I just showed you that. Right, next slide. What to look for. All right, let me show everything's up and running. All right, yeah. So what to look for? How much money is the property generating each month? The website has it. If not, ask the agent. What are the expensive? Website. If not, ask the agent. Ask to view the property. If you schedule an appointment, go preferably with a general contractor to get an idea of the condition of the property and cost if anything has to be fixed, covered by renovation loans, right? So again, you want to preferably go with a contractor. I mean, if you go alone, cool, you can see more or less, all right, just the properties, what it looks like. But if you go with a contractor, he's able to tell you what's old, what's new, what might be needed to be changed, so on and so on. Can I get the rent history for the last 4 months? Ask the agent. This should come as a form of bank statements to let you see the monthly rent income. They can give you this before or after you view the property. Right. The next thing, what is the condition of the property? Again, we went over that. You want to know that. Next thing, does anything have to be fixed? Go in having the seller thinking you are going into the deal wanting to fix things up. And what do I mean by that? A lot of times sellers, they want to sell the property, right? In a certain amount of time, right? They want to sell it fast. I want to get it off my hands. I want to sell it as fast as possible. Understandable. You're selling the property, right? You want to sell it as fast as possible. Understandable. A lot of times they won't tell you what's wrong with the property, right, to avoid waiting or not getting a deal done. So that's why you want to go into it having the seller think, listen, I want to go into it to fix things up. So that way he's more open in his spirit to go, oh, okay, well, I can let him know about this. I can let him know about that. As opposed to, listen, I want to go into it. I don't want to fix nothing. He's going to think, damn, you know what? I ain't going to tell him about that pipe that just busted last night. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to tell him about this. So you want to go into, even though the inspection is going to give you all of that, right? There's certain things you still want to know beforehand, right? From the seller himself that he may know himself, right? Because he's been with the property for a while, whatever. He knows the property. So you want to go into it having him think you're going in there wanting to fix things up, right? Hey, it's part of the game, man. It is what it is, right? Next point. What is the lifespan of everything in place? Next one, the inspection will give you the specific details about everything, but your job is to fish out as much information about the property as possible pre-inspection. Let's go to the next slide. Right, so this is an example of interaction between me and the agent who brought me my first property, right? So first, the picture to the left is what he sent me about the property. They'll normally give you a picture something like this, looks like this right here. It's not too clear. Even in the original picture, my phone is not too clear, so I tried to make it out the best possible on what it says. But generally, it's about the information about the property, right? The year it was made, the property taxes, the acres, you know, if it's new construction, you know, the assessed value, but you always need a direct value from the appraisal. You can see more or less what the value of the property is, but I'll go into that later because that goes into the ARV, after repair values, right? So again, just general information about the property. And then to the right, you'll see his text message that he texted me. He said, okay, here's one in Waterbury. I spoke to the owner last night. I'll send it to you. $1,140,000 rent for first floor. Right, $650 for the second floor, $650 for the third floor. Taxes are $5,527, right, which is annually. When you pay taxes and insurance, that's annually. So you break this up into 12, and that gives you the exact monthly payment, right? So taxes are $5,527. Insurance is $1,500, right? She has one tenant taking away the snow and cutting the grass, and they pay for their own water. Gross rent, $28,800. Expenses, $7,027. Profit or net operating income, NOI, is $21,773. That's a good deal right there, right? According to the numbers, what I see. I still got to do my due diligence. The inspection or pre-inspection, the property, is it worn down, certain other questions, rent history, and all that. This is just an example of the interaction you will have between you and your agent. These are the information he'll start telling you, right? Again, I'm going to have a step-by-step program after Passover on brothers that's interested, right? We'll call the lenders together. We'll ask them the questions together. You know, we'll call the agent together. We'll run the numbers to everything. Everything I'm speaking about, we'll do it together, right? But that's after Passover, right? For certain brothers that's interested. So again, look, this is key right here. It's one of the points I brought out. It says she has one tenant take away the snow. So that means that there's a tenant there that anytime it snows, she's assigned by the landlord to take out the snow. Now, she's not aware of any landlord selling the property, any new land. She's not aware besides unless she sees a new face, right? This one tenant, they're not aware of the new land or anything like that unless they see the new face, and then they'll come up to you and say, yo, listen, I do the snow every month, so I mean, I'm still gonna get paid, right? And you're like, what are you talking about, right? So you don't want none of that. That's why it's important. Again, like I brought out earlier, you want to know if there's any storages being rented. Who's cutting this? If anybody cutting the grass, is anybody assigned to take away the snow?
Hey, Salakia, my gun.
Yes, sir.
Quick question, right? That NOI is for the year?
Yeah, that's for the year.
Okay, copy.
Right, and then check that NOI out. Right now, imagine getting 5 properties with the same NOI. Right. Matter of fact, good point, King. Good point. Let me put that calculation real quick. So you get NOI 21. right? Let me restore this so I could just see the number, right? 21,773, right? Times 5 properties. That's $108,865 a year. How much is that a month? Oh, Slocky. Whoa, that's not that. Hold up. I did some multiplication. I wish, right? So you divide that by Slocky. I'm going off, right? So 21,773 times 5 properties. That's $108,865 a year. You divide that by 12, and a month that's $9,072, right? And 8 cents. I'm counting that cent, goddammit, right? But that's the monthly income with 5 properties. And again, it only goes up because you're using the same program to acquire properties each year or two, whatever the program requires. Right? Yep. So that's the NOI right there. Net operating income for a year. Because he tells us the expenses already. Right? The expenses is $7,000, right? $27. That's for taxes, insurance, and principal, everything included. Right? So let's go on to the next slide. Right? Inspection. During the inspection process, the inspector will evaluate the property's condition and will give you a detailed document on everything observed. Ask them about the conditions of the 5 data points, which is in slide number 3 in the first PowerPoint presentation I gave in which is called or titled Getting Started in Real Estate. Let's go to that. Right? Cross-reference. Slide 3. So important things to know when looking into a property. The HVAC system, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Now, I also want to take some time to let's Google some of these things, right? Because in Googling, you can get a visual of what some of these things look like. All right, so let's HVAC system for property. Right, so see, these are some of the HVAC systems you'll see for properties. A lot of y'all might have seen it, might have not known what it was. A lot of y'all might have known what it was, right? But this is what it looks like. This is what an HVAC system is, right? It's different types too, but they all do, you know, their mission is the same thing. So they're designed to do the same thing. Some more high technology, some less, but you get the point. Right, so HVAC system. This is what it looks like when you see it. All right, let's go back to the slide. HVAC system is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Right, roof. I ain't gotta show you a picture of the roof. Y'all know what it is. Right, foundation. Let's see what the foundation of a property look like. Again, you want to go in there when you schedule the appointment, looking at these things, at least for yourself. And then that may, you know, later on when you're doing value add to the property and refinancing, cashing out, taking out the equity, buying and flipping and all that, then some of this information you start to see comes in handy because you need it. The kind of information you're going to need, right? So look at the foundation. See everything that holds up the house. See that? That's the foundation. You see the side, the cement, normally what holds up the house. You want to see if that's cracked on the side, if that's weak. And normally when you go to the basement, what's holding it up, you would check that out too, because that's part of the foundation that's holding up the foundation, if you get what I mean. Right? So, yep, these are the foundations of the property you want to look at. Right? That's important. Right? What's the next one? Electrical. So let's go to electrical system. A lot of y'all may already know, but for the audience sake, electrical system for property. Right? That's the electrical systems right here. That way you get familiar with what it looks like. Right? So when it comes to electrical systems, this is what you're looking at. Anything that has to do with electrical. Right? What else? Plumbing. Right, which is materials, fixtures, installing, maintenance, altering piping fixtures, appliances, anything that water's running through, right? Any pipes, right? Sinks, any of that, right? Yeah, some of y'all may know, but just for people that may not know, right? Plumbing system. This is what the plumbing system look like. See all those pipes? That deals with plumbing. See that? And that's why a lot of these, a lot of people that have these skills are, high earners. Why? Because these skills are needed. Without these skills, there wouldn't be no houses built. There wouldn't be no real estate. There wouldn't be no apartments. Right? It wouldn't be none of that. So that's why these are high paying skills too. That, if brothers and sisters ever want to learn a skill, these are, skills worthy to learn. Right? So that's the plumbing system. Right? And especially when we give you all a list of the things you may need. Right? So let's go back to the PowerPoint presentation. So if the property needs some rehab, right, which is renovations, interchangeable, same thing, right? One of the points is use the renovation loan offered by the FHA program. Ask what the numbers are if you are to repay it, then see what your NOI is after that. Because let's say if a program offer you a loan renovation loan, renovation loan, they'll maybe say, okay, maybe you have to pay $300-400 a month for that. And then you go back to your calculator on what the property's making and say, okay, let's see if the property could afford that. And if it's nothing, okay, that's nothing. I'm making $2,500. I'm making $21 now. I mean, that's nothing. I'm good, right? You ain't coming out your pocket. You ain't coming with nothing out your pocket. So I mean, that's good. $2,100, nothing on my pocket. That's good. Because I'm covered now, but for the renovations, and those kind of renovations will last me a lifespan, and I have warranty on it because I know how to hire the contractor. Right. Next one, calculate the ARV after repair value to see how much value you're adding. By doing this, you can calculate how much equity the property has and if you have enough to pull it out. So a lot of people may not know what that means. So let's read it again. It says calculate the ARV after repair value. After repair value means if you renovate the property, how much is it going to be worth afterwards? Right? And to see how much value you're adding, this is what I mean. We got to go back to the calculator. So let's say you have an example, a 3-unit, right? You have a 3-unit, 1,000 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. I'm just putting generic numbers out there. You would have to find a property that's the same or very similar, right? In terms of baths, how many bedrooms, and how many units. Damn, maybe I should have put that into a point, right? But I'll repeat it. Y'all can always come back and or mark it down now as I'm speaking, right? So you would have to look at other properties around the property you're looking at. You would have to look at the square footage, the bedrooms, the amount of bedrooms, the amount of bathrooms, right? And the amount of units. That's important because other properties around the property you're looking at would have to be the same to see how much that one is worth after being renovated. And then you would look at properties that you can see was renovated. Okay, that property looks brand new, and it's the same square. It's almost the same square footage, maybe 10 square footage right off, but it's 3-unit like mine's. It's a 4-bedroom like mine's, and it's a 2-bedroom like mine's. The one I'm looking at now. Now you're gonna take that number and use and compare it also to other properties that are similar, and you get more or less the value of your property after renovations. Did that make sense? Anybody on the panel? Did that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Since McGunn, but repeat it again just in case.
Yeah, I'm gonna repeat it again. I just want to make sure it's processing the first time I say it, so it could be easier the second time. So what you want to do is you're looking at a property. Matter of fact, let's just do numbers. Let's do a demonstration. So you have a property. Let's put it like this. The property you are looking into is 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and 3 units. 1,400 square footage. Right? So your job, me, first of all, I like to use Redfin. Right? So Redfin, as you see here, is a website. It gives you the recently sold properties, you know what I'm saying, and the properties around it and what it's sold for, which is important. This is what you need. Right? So in this, I got a 4 bedroom, 3 bathrooms, and 3 unit, 14 square footage. And let's say it's right here. Let's say this is it right here, the $540,000, right? That's the property that I'm looking at that needs renovation. I would look at the same properties in the same neighborhood or in the closest streets that I can around here, right? Same kind of property or the closest to it. It would have to match the unit, the bathrooms, and the bedrooms. The square footage is tweaked. It can be tweaked a little bit, right? 10, 20 square, square feet, whatever. But the whole point is you would look at other properties around the property you're looking at. And the property around it has to be fully renovated. You get the newest houses that's just like your property that's fully renovated. Then you come on this website and you go to, you see where it says for sale? You go to sold. Now, of course, you would want the most recent sold, right? But obviously, properties don't start in one area. 20 properties in the first week in one area. That just don't happen, right? So you still want to search the recent. You see how I put last week? It'll have no sold properties because ain't nothing sold last week. So what you want to do is search the last 6 months, and it'll give you more results. So let's say again, the property I was looking at was $540,000. The other properties around it, let's say a fully renovated one is $600,000, right? After you do the repairs on the property that you're looking at, your property is more likely worth $600,000 because the other one sold for $600,000. The ones that's just like your property, if that makes sense. So your property is at $540 right now. Let's say after repairs, $600,000. Let's say you spend $10,000 on repairs. You got $540, and all you need is $10,000 on repair plus $10,000. That's $550, right? Now you go 600 minus 550. Now you have $50,000 in equity in your property that you can take out. You see that? I hope it made sense. So you added value to the property by renovating it, and the only reason you would know you added value was because you searched the surrounding properties and figured out how much they sold for. That's exactly like your property, which is what? 4 bedroom, for an example, 3 bathrooms, 3 units, 1,400 square footage. That's how you calculate an ARV. The ARV, you can get an exact number after you have it appraised, but it's already a value add once you renovate it because you're adding value through renovations. You're taking it from one state and putting it in another, in a better estate. So that's considered value add, but you would determine what the ARV or after repair value is by looking at the surrounding properties and what they sold for, but it has to match exactly, if not very similar to your property. Now, let's say, for example, same numbers, after repair value is worth $600,000. They're selling it at 540. But the renovations is, let's say, 60,000. That equals 600,000. That means you have no equity in it, because even after repair, you maxed out what it's worth according to what other properties sold for. It's no such thing as, oh, I prepared this and now I deserve $1 million. That's not how real estate works. And that's where a lot of people that don't have this small information right here, they get messed up, because they think just because I got a property, it should be way worth more than what I bought it for if I put renovations to it. Not if you didn't calculate it right. Not if you didn't do the numbers.
Hey, Salakia.
Uh-huh.
So question, right? If you're utilizing one of the programs in order to purchase, right? So meaning, any of them off the top, any DPA. So how much leverage do you have in negotiation of the price?
So since it's on the MLS list, meaning it's already it's on the listing, it's on the public listing. What happens is the seller wants the most, right? For to sell it. So they want the most money out of it. It's different than going to him directly and trying to negotiate. But if he has an agent trying to sell it for him, that means he's looking for the most out of it. So it's really so much, it's little negotiation room there, right? Which is why you analyze the deal. Because sometimes you might tell the agent, listen, just go back to him and tell him this. It's the way you word things too. You tell the agent, listen, you go back to him, listen, I propose this, you know what I'm saying? I'll give him that, and see if he takes it. Yeah, you go down on the price a little bit, see if he takes it, but that's up to him, right? But even then, if the property is generating enough income and the numbers make sense on what you have to spend on it monthly through your lender and what you're making on it, if the numbers make sense, then the purchase price ain't really a problem, because you're not paying for it anyway, right? It's being paid for you. So that's different if you're trying to add the value and the goal is to buy and flip or take out the equity, purely and then just sell it. But if you're looking for long-term, like if you're looking for properties you're going to hold long-term for passive income, meaning it's generating income each month, then that really don't affect it. Right? So again, it depends on your goal. What I really like to teach is, have passive income and hold properties long-term. And yeah, dip and dive into the buying and flipping and all that, but you would have to know the knowledge, right? So the purchase price is the purchase price. You can negotiate it a little bit, but even then you're not paying for it. So the government, the funding, they're paying for it. But if it's generating good income, it's a good deal. And if you're going into it, even if you don't add the value, right, go into it trying to spend or trying to not use the renovation loans, right? Go into it saying, you know what, I want everything to be good. The renovation loans will be with small things here and there. Now, the renovation loans later on, I'm going to teach how you can use it to add value to a distressed property, meaning a property that you can see is messed up and it needs renovation. Ain't nobody living in there. It needs renovation. Those are the what they call they call it the gold in the hood, because once you could buy, I'll give you a number right now. You could buy a property, right, for $30,000. Also depending on what neighborhood, right? You can't just get one in the middle of a damn in the desert and think he'll gain value and thing, right? So you could purchase a property that's distressed for $30,000, right? Now you get a hard money lender that's gonna lend you a matter of fact, that's the hard money lender separate. So let's say with the first time home buying program, if you purchase a property with $30,000, the renovation is $30,000, right? That's $60,000. And if the after repair value is $100,000, right? So $100,000 minus $60,000, you added a value of $40,000 in that property. Right, so that's value add. Now these numbers would matter, and it's important if you're buying and flipping, or if you're getting distressed property. The goal being to add value and take the equity out. So after it's repaired, I get it appraised for $40,000, and then I go to a new lender and I go to the bank. I say, hey, listen, I want to refinance cash out. So refinancing means they'll give you these $40,000, they'll give you the equity, right? and then you just have a mortgage under them. Normally, you get a better mortgage deal anyway, too. So, you know, you'll be paying less in monthly expenses, and your income and your NOI will be more. Right? So it's certain things like, again, you got buying and flipping. In the first course, I think I brought this out. I got buying and flip. There's buying and flipping. That means you're adding value to a distressed property, like I just did, and you're selling it or refinance cash, not to take the equity out. You got buying and holding, which means you're buying a property to hold it long term and have it for a long time to generate passive monthly income. Right? Then you got wholesaling, assigning contracts to other investors. You run the numbers and everything, and you get a cut. You say, okay, this property makes $40,000. I'm gonna sell this contract. I'm gonna put it on the contract, sell it to an investor for $10,000, and he's making $30,000. So I'll present that to him. He's going, oh, that's cool. I can do that. Right? So he'll give you a check of $10,000, and it's off your hands. This contract is under him now. Right? So that's another thing. That's wholesaling. So it's different things. It's the goal. Everything depends on the goal. Right? So I hope did I answer the question?
Yeah, no, definitely. I was just wondering, just based off the fact that when you calculated those numbers, you were stating that the property value raising, you know what I'm saying, didn't equate. So is that something that counts inside negotiations, or is that just what you want to consider if you want to pass on the deal or not?
Yeah. So again, the most important thing is your goal. Are you planning to have that property and keep it to keep the monthly income, or are you planning to sell it to get a profit? Right. So that'll be the question within yourself and what you.
I got. So it's your agenda. So
yeah.
If you wanted to flip it, then no. But passively, it would be a green light.
Exactly.
I got you. Copy.
Yep. Exactly. You got it. If the numbers make sense passively in terms of income, then the renovations don't matter if you that's not your goal to add value and flip it. So you good. Exactly, King. You got that one. So yeah, so that's a basic understanding about that, right? So let me restore this. Again, Redfin is the website I use to kind of type in the address and see what the after repair value is on properties. So I'll go around the property I'm looking at, the neighborhood, and then I'll see what they sold for. That'll give me more or less the after repair value of what I'm looking at. But again, like Captain Cottazar brought out, it don't really matter if my goal is to do what? To just have a property to bring me passive income and also live rent free. It don't really matter. You're not funding it anyway. It's not coming out your pocket. Right. So let's yeah, I think that's it on that. Let me see. All right. So calculate the ARV to see how much you're adding. By doing this, you can calculate how much equity the property has and if you have enough to pull it out. Next point. You do this by comparing the amount of units of the property, square footage, bedrooms, and bathrooms to other properties around the same area that is exactly the same and is fully renovated. Right? The square footage can vary very slightly. So we went over that. We went over a whole example of adding value. How do you add value? What that means. Again, if you have any questions about that, you can ask me. Because later on down the line, I am going to teach value add, steps to, properties and all that. So, but for now, I'm just going over the basic important things. If your goal is to have a property that's generating income and you're planning to hold it long term, right? So next slide. Right, red flags to avoid when looking for fixer-upper houses. Right, this applies to fixer-upper houses. Is again what I went over earlier just now. You add value to a property and sell it and you make a profit, right? But these are some of these things, right, also apply to, like, let's say you don't want to go in you don't want to go into a property and then you got to put in so much work and renovation, right, that you could have used that for a better deal. So if the property needs damn near $200,000 for fixing, you're like, nah, hold up. I could use that for something else, add value to it, right? Possibly, and even take it out while holding it long term, right? So you would always want to use, that wisdom as well. You don't want to go into it for, it's messed up. I can use the renovation loan just to do it. Yeah, that's true, but it's going to cost a lot, and there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of supervision you have to do, right? You got to supervise. You got to make sure the general contractors are doing their job. You got to come back to the property, make sure they're doing what they got to do, right? These are all things that come into play when you're dealing with major repairs. That's why, you know, it's better to look for these red flags, not having to do any major repairs going into the deal, right? When I say major repairs, I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So you want to look at the neighborhood, see if other properties on the block are just as run down or boarded up. You don't want to be the only house in a neighborhood where there's nothing but dumpsters, right? And boarded up properties because, you know, the neighborhood ain't even like, you know, it ain't valued, right? It doesn't have any value according to the, you know, standard and according to its condition. So it don't have any value. So investing in a property that has no value, you're not really adding no value to nothing because ain't nobody gonna move over there. Ain't nobody gonna say, yo, you see them boarded up houses in that block? I want to move in that house right across the street. And ain't nobody doing that, right? So, you know, you don't want to invest in those kind of properties. Right. The next thing, location. See if the property is on the main street. Properties on the main roads go for 10 to 20% less the average in the market, right? Days, right? If days on market are 100 plus, there is usually a good reason why. So that's another thing. If you see a property is on an MLS list, but it's been there for 100 plus days, ain't nobody want to buy it. It's been approached by potential buyers, but they didn't buy it, right? There has to be a reason for that. So you want to inquire about that too. Don't even look at a property as 100 plus days old on the listing, right? Next one. Floor plans, uncommon or weird floor plans. Weird floor plans can heavily affect days on market when you sell. So that's another thing. This goes more to fixer uppers, right? It doesn't really apply too much for long term, right? So this is just because once you buy a property, you know, even though you still want these things to be intact, right? But when you buy and flip, that means you're selling it for profit. Right. And so it's not also normally deals with single family houses. When you're dealing with single family houses, you're dealing with one tenant that's going in there to live. So all the floors and everything got to pass, you know, make sure it's intact. Right. But these are some of the red flags just to look for. Right. Especially the days on the market and then the location. Right. And major issues. Those are the things that you want to look out for, the major issues. The water leakage, the large cracks in foundation, floors that are not level, showing signs of structural issues. That's what you want to look out for. Again, you want to look out for that because you don't want any kind of problems in the future, right? Again, going into it using a renovation loan for buying and holding, cool, you can fix some of these things up, but just don't make it a large project because there's more responsibility on you, right? So next slide. Right, putting the property under contract and closing on it. If the property checks out as a good deal, you will then contact your lender to put it under contract and close on it. You will be given a purchase contract, which you submit to your attorney to make sure everything is set up the way you intended it. So that's why it's important to have an attorney too, because he can go over the contract just to be sure. You always want to be sure yourself. Listen, what does the contract say? What are the obligations? What is exactly, you know, terms and conditions I got to, you know, uphold, right? While I have this property, so on and so forth, right? Another part of, I'm going to do a whole separate lesson on this, but it's also transferring. Matter of fact, one of the questions you want to ask your lenders is, what are the terms and conditions if I want to transfer it into a land trust, specifically a title holding trust? That's another thing, right? Because I spoke about that earlier. You want to make sure that later on down the line, as soon as possible, you put that property under a trust so it could, you know, protect you from liability purposes. If anybody's suing you or, you know, if anything under your name, you don't qualify for because the property is under your name, the trust, you know, eliminates all of that, right? So, yeah.
That's actually where I had the questions on from last week. So at what point do you put it early on in the trust? Is that something that your lawyer sets up initially in the beginning of the deal? Like at what point do you approach the title trust?
Yeah, so you want to approach it as soon as possible, and that's why it's important to ask the lenders these questions. Listen, under the terms and conditions, if I want to transfer it to a trust, what are the terms and conditions? Is that prohibited, right? Most likely it's not prohibited, but you still want to know directly the information, right? Specifically on the lender that you're dealing with. So you want to ask them that stuff. If I transfer it, are there any terms and conditions which I got to transfer it in? How does it affect me? Things of that nature. So you want to ask the lender that, and also you ask your lawyer, because a lawyer will give you an answer as well. So you want to get answers from both parties just to be extra sure.
Okay, copy. And then the other thing too, right? When it comes down to purchasing these residents, do you have to be a part of the county or state, or can you do this from a different demographic in applying for these programs and making the purchases?
So each state has their own, small differences here and there in terms of rules and regulations. It's subject to the state that you're in due to the fact because it's wherever your primary residence is at, that's where you have to have your, your unit purchased under. Although you can, that's always a question you can always ask the lender as well. These programs, you can ask them, listen, do y'all offer funding for out of state? But the thing is that each state has different, things here and there in terms of how they operate. So you would have to ask a specific state that you're trying to invest in. If you're living, let's say if you're living in New York and you want to invest in, let's say, Connecticut, just to give an example, so I would have to call the lenders in Connecticut to see how they work and see, okay, I want to invest in Connecticut. I live in New York, but let me call the lender to see what kind of offers they have or if they even work with people out of state. Right. So, and that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up because the website that I showed in my first PowerPoint presentation, it gives you all the information in the websites to each state. Right. And these programs. Right. If anybody's on the YouTube, you can see, when you go down to the bottom, you can see, right, Colorado, California. You see all the states, right, where it's available in. Right. And again, don't mind the credit score. That's only if you're going for a single family household. In terms is a little different for qualification when it comes to a multifamily because the property's paying for itself as opposed to a single family. Right. So it's putting out there.
So then one more question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like even with the multifamilies, I'm in New York. So a multifamily house in New York, depending on what borough and the condition that it's in, could be anywhere from like 1.2 to 2.4 mil. You know what I'm saying? So it's like our housing market is higher than anywhere else in the country outside of LA. So do they still offer those level of programs for houses, like for a 4-unit inside of New York at that rate?
Yeah. So I'm scrolling down right now. If you see right here, New York down payment assistance programs, they have it in this website as well. So what you got to do is call the lenders in New York, right, that offer the FHA first-time home buying programs and see what the conditions and terms are and see what you qualify for and just see what programs is out there in terms of, okay, do you have down payment assistance programs, right, which normally they do. So down payment assistance programs would cover that 3%, as you can see here. Let me see, New York down payment, state of New York, more assisted right loan down payment. So loan price off 3% of the purchase price or up to $15,000 second mortgage. Right. DPAL Plus can offer up to $30,000 for lower income home buyers who make less than 3% of the income. Addition could offer to $100,000 for eligible buyers. Right. So this is just, just a general information of certain things they can offer. What you would have to do though is call them directly. Right, and then ask them the specific question because each program varies according to the state, and each program, even in the states, they work a little differently with each other. So they work. It's the same process, but just a little different. Like, yo, listen, this program requires you to walk through the back. This one requires you to walk through the front. That type of stuff. It's the same thing when you go inside. You know what I'm saying? That type of stuff. But yeah, just you have to call them up and see what they got to offer.
Okay, copy.
So let me go back to I think I'm finishing up anyway, right? So yeah, actually I finished up. So I'm opening up the floor for questions. If anybody have any questions, I'll go ahead and answer them. I know in Clubhouse y'all might have some questions too. Y'all could go on the comment boards and go ahead and ask your questions. And I'll be able to see them. But yeah, I'm taking any questions from the comments. I'm taking any questions from the panels if you have any. I'm opening up the floor for questions. Maybe I have any questions.
I'll go ahead and answer them.
Oh, Johanna, I think you got to mute up because it's background noise.
I might have some questions too. Y'all can go on the comment board.
No, I muted his mic. It's all good.
So if I found, let's say so if I found like a 4-unit property in Harlem, right? And I was able to get approved inside one of the programs, it would be 3.5 of, let's say, 1.2 million that would need to be put down in order for them to cover the rest and the remaining of the property.
Yeah, and so what happens is that the lenders usually work with a DPA, down payment assistance program. So the down payment assistance program, they'll cover that 3.5% that you need to put towards the property.
And then now from there, the only thing that's being paid is whatever the monthly mortgage and everything was that was tied in together.
Right. So they'll give you the number of the monthly mortgage you'll be paying in total specifically, and then you'll deduct that from what the property's making, and that'll be your net operating income.
Right. Okay. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I have time, y'all. So just, just load it up. Yeah, what's good, King?
Hey, so what I'm gathering from the presentation, that it's a viable, if not a better option for a first-time buyer to get a multi-property than a single family. Is that about right?
Definitely. And the reason being is because an investment property, a multifamily, is an investment property. Not only is it generating income, but it's paying your monthly rent in which you're living rent-free. And what happens is you can acquire enough of these properties through the program to the point where you're making enough passive income, and then turn around and use the same program to buy a single family. And then what happens is you don't have to worry about paying the mortgage because you have other properties that's bringing you the income, and you're paying that off anyway through the other properties.
Okay, I got that. So now what if you go ahead and somebody worked the program and they got like a 4-unit property, right? But they and their family want to move to another state. Don't you have to make that property your primary residence? How could I get around that if I want to move? Let's say I want to move to another state, go to Florida or Texas, but have my 4-unit property still, generating income in, let's say, New York, Jersey, or Connecticut.
Yeah, so what happens is that's the only requirement. You have to live in one unit, let's say for a year, for example, and then you can reuse the program, but you can keep the first property that you purchased. You can keep that, and what happens is the only time you'll have to live in a primary residence is on paper, not physically. So on paper, you can say, okay, yeah, I live here now, but physically you could be in North Carolina somewhere. You see what I'm saying?
Right, but would that jam me up if I'm not, let's say I'm using FHA to get the multi-unit property, but for my personal property, I'm using another program. What I'm saying, would that come back and bite me if I want to get another program and another property, my main residence for my family in another state, but keep my investment in another state? You understand what I'm trying to say?
No, I got you, and it's not going to affect you at all because what happens is the programs allow you to reuse them, right? And that's why, like, when you ask the lenders, you ask them specific questions. Listen, if I want to move out, right? One of the slides was the questions is, if I want to move out, what's the requirement? How long do I have to live there before I can move out and then keep the property that I just purchased, right? These are questions you want to ask them, and then they'll tell you the terms and conditions. So you can have, let's say, a property here and then go out of state and use the same program in that other state as a first-time home buyer because you're automatically considered a first-time home buyer anyway on the program side after that year.
Oh, so you got to invest a year in that property.
Exactly. Now, you don't have to physically be here. You could be in New York somewhere while, like I said, the property's in North Carolina. It's just on paper that's your primary residence. That's all.
Right, but you can't double dip. You can't use the program to go get another property until a year. That's what I mean.
Right. And that's why also, if you was to put the property in the title holding trust, it'll give you more flexibility because now you're taking that property off of your name. So that and
the FHA program would allow you to do that?
Exactly. And that's why you would want to talk to the lenders, and because the lenders are the FHA program. That's another word for lenders. So they'll be able to tell you, yeah, you're able to do that. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're able to do this, you're able to do that. So you ask them just in case, but yeah, they normally allow you to do that. So you transfer your property to a trust. Now, under the title trust specifically, it's like you're managing it's like almost like an LLC. You're managing the property how you want it. You dictate how it goes, but it's not in your personal name.
Got it. And for my last question, the down payment, like a brother said, in the Northeast, properties is 1.5 and up. So do you have programs to assist with the down payment?
Yeah, so each program, you have to call them directly because each program work with specific down payment programs, right? So let's say there's a program, this is a McGunn program. McGunn offers a specific down payment, right? Because he deals with a specific program. Let's say this is Kanai. Kanai is another lender, but he deals with this other program for down payment assistance. You see what I'm saying? So you have to talk to the lenders directly to see which programs they work with and which programs they offer.
Got it.
So McGunn, by what you're saying is each lender has a limit of what they're going to offer you as far as how much of the down payment they're going to pay.
Well, they have different, like, small differences here and there. For example, okay, in my state, right, I'll have to take a 3-hour course. I forgot what it was. I gotta ask my rib, but I believe it's a 3-hour course, a free course for 3 hours that gives you a certification of a landlord. That's the only requirement. Then they'll fund everything else. They give you the down payment assistance, and all that. So each state is different. They might require you to do a 3-hour course as well. You know what I'm saying? They might require you to have a certification, which is easy to acquire.
So other states might. So some other states, Salakia. So other states you might not have to take the course at all. You just already they're gonna just help you out already.
Right. So then that's why you would have to contact that lender directly from your states. Right, from your state, the lenders from their state, and see what their terms are.
Or wherever you want to buy the property. So wherever you want to buy the property, whatever that state is, you would have to contact the lenders from that state.
Exactly. Yep. That's exactly right. So, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It's flexible. Once you know how to go about it, you'll know how to, you know how to maneuver in certain things like that. So, you also, going back to the PowerPoint slides, you also want to ask them, terms like refinance cash out, because if you add equity, you want to be able to get these loans and refinance cash out, get that equity out without having no hassle or no terms and conditions to do it. You see what I'm saying? And if you do have terms and conditions, it's usually resolvable. For example, let's say you added value through the renovation loan program and the down payment assistance program and all that. You added value by renovating it. It didn't come out your pocket. Let's say, if you refinance too early, then you have to pay that back. So they'll give you a monthly payment. But what happens is, if you take out the equity, if you have enough, that balance will pay off itself, and you're still pulling out the rest of the equity that's in there. So it's always a way around it. It's called an exit strategy. There's always an exit strategy.
Hey, what about income and credit score, King? I know you touched on it, but could you kind of dive into that one more time? You got to make a certain amount of income to qualify for this FHA, and your credit score got to be over a certain number.
No, there's no requirements for both. So what happens is there's no requirement for credit. Really, there's programs right now approving you at 580, right? And they're known programs. So other programs don't even look at the credit really, because what happens is if you're buying them, it's different from a single family than a multifamily. If you're buying a single family, they're gonna look at your credit because the single family is not generating income, so they can't count that as income. They count that as a liability. So they're saying, okay, how much are you making and what's your credit score to make sure you're responsible enough to pay it. Now, a multifamily that's paying itself, they calculate that as an income. They say, okay, the property's paying for itself. So the credit and his income don't really matter because we see that the property is paying everything on itself and making more.
Salakia, but McGunn, but now let's say hypothetically, you find a 4-unit building, right? But there is no tenants, but they would have to try to estimate what you would charge rent then, right? Because if there's nobody there, they can't say that the place is generating income.
Right. So what happens is a 1 to 4 unit, the value is calculated different than the 5 unit and above. Right, a 1 to 4 unit is considered residential properties. The way residential properties is calculated on value is based off what other properties around it sold for. So it don't have no tenants. It's considered the value is considered what the value of the other houses sold for around the area that's fully renovated. So that's the after repair value. Now for commercial property, let's say, because you can't even do this for commercial property, so I'm not even teaching a commercial property right now, right? So a commercial property, that's considered 5 units and above. So if you have a 5 unit and above, that their value is calculated based off the income it's making rather than the renovations. So that's why when let's say if you renovate a 5 unit, which is commercial, before taking out the equity and appraising it, you want to fill it in with tenants first. And then you get it appraised, because then you get the value of the property on the commercial side, which is dependent on the income it's generating. But the 1 to 4 units is dependent on the renovations and how much the properties around it that is exactly the same sold for fully renovated.
But what I'm saying though, King, is they like I said, it's a 4 unit, let's say hypothetically, a building, they got four apartments in the building, but nobody's there. So now that, let's say you like, what I'm thinking you're saying is, if that 4 unit building is valued at 1.5 million, they will still give you the no down payment for that?
Yeah, because the program, there's nothing about the program. The program, watch this. Now, there's another thing, right? It's different avenues. The program allows you to even buy a land, renovate the whole house from new construction up, and they funded it with the same program, right? So they're funding the program, and what happens is the value of a 1 to 4 unit is completely based off the renovations and what other properties around the sold for. I keep saying that because even if the property don't have no tenants, on the residential side, it's mostly calculated off how the property is renovated. So then you can add tenants, but that won't really add value to a residential 1 to 4 unit, because that's not how the value is calculated on a residential. You understand what I'm saying?
I got you.
So it's different rules when it comes to valuing a property or determining the value when it comes to 1 to 4 units and the 5 units and above. 5 units and above is a different ball game. So that's why 1 to 4 units is one single family to 4 apartment properties.
And McGunn, that goes to every state, or is it different in every state? Say like somebody was just saying about New York, whatever, and then say hypothetically, like I said, I'm in Texas, somebody's in Cleveland. How does that every state has its own way of doing things. I understand what you're saying as far as they all have the same program where they do the lending, but I think every state might be they might have little different stipulations. That's what I'm asking.
No, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to calculating the after repair value, it's the same in all 50 states.
Con.
Can I say something, McGon?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you say the program works for land too?
Hold up, you sound a little low. You said what?
The program works for land as well?
Yeah, it works for land that you plan to build the property on. So it can't just be land by itself. It has to be a land that you're gonna construct the property on.
Okay, come.
Now, that's a good question, because the land is vacant, no property, but now that's one price for the land itself. Now you have to factor what would be the price for you to build like you said, like a 4 unit building, correct?
Right, like you run the numbers, and like I told Captain Cottons out earlier, it depends on your goals. So if your strategy is to build a house to add equity, right, add value and sell it, get rid of it, then you would have to calculate the numbers to see what the after repair value would be. But if your plan is to just have a multifamily to generate income each month with tenants in it, and you plan to hold it long term, then it's not too much of a worry to add equity when you're getting it. If that makes sense.
Con.
So then, question: is there a cap to the amount of the property that you're able to purchase, or is that all codependent on the program you're in?
So it's all codependent on how many units you're getting. So the more units, the higher the purchase price goes. So you approve for a high purchase price if it has 4 units.
So what I'm saying is, okay, so if it has 4 units, then the program you're applying for is approval rate is already going to, I mean, as far as the issue rate is going to be high.
Yeah, because the thing is, like I said, the lenders, they look at the property, and if the property's paying for itself, right, that's already the income that they count in terms of, okay, they're able to pay it off. So what happens is the if you have a 4 unit, that's more income. That's 4 tenants. So your purchase price goes up because now that property is generating more income due to being more units.
So then there is no real cap. Like it's just mainly about it's just mainly about if the property can cover itself, even in theory.
Right. It's only a cap if it's single family. You see that? Now, real quick, because I like. So, why anybody on the planet can answer you too? Why do you think it's different when it comes to a single family? Why do you think there's a cap on the single family?
Because of liability.
Exactly. It's not paying nothing. It's not generating any income, so they can't count that.
Yeah. So all they would have to go off of is your own income, and are you able to afford the payments?
Exactly.
But you have no means. I got you.
Exactly.
Also, this is why it's an investment property. I would not purchase an investment property with no tenants in it just starting out.
Right.
That's a bad idea starting right there from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's always best when you buying something that's an investment that you making money on that investment day one. Day one from the day you get it, you're making money on that investment day one. Any investment you gotta buy and wait to make money on it, it kind of is not what you want to do at this point in the beginning of being in real estate and investment property. I land that.
Right, and that's a perfect point to build on because even with an empty vacant property, you would have to know how to screen tenants. You would have to know how to promote the apartment. You would have to know how to get the best tenants. So that's another presentation that I'll go into in the future, because that's another thing. If let's say if you get your property is fully occupied, but then a tenant leaves, you would have to know how to fill that property, that apartment back in. So that's another thing. That's why, like the brother said, is a perfect point. Starting out, it's better to go for property that's already occupied and have good tenants, right? Because that's already a for sure thing. It's a for sure income. You don't have to go in there worrying about filling it in, none of that. Later on, we could get to that, and I could teach you that. But in the beginning stages, you want to just get into it, get your feet wet, right? Get that money, and then as you go, you learn other things that you could dip and dive into. It's like if you need a job right now, right? This is a high paying job right now. You could get it, and then the other joint you could get it down the line. But this high paying job, you got to get it right now because you have no income right now. So that's kind of the situation with that. Yeah, once again, I got time. I got maybe to like 1:55. So I got 10 minutes. I'm still taking questions. 2:00, I'll wind down. I'll do a class at 3 p.m. with the priest. So I'll be winding down, getting ready for that. But I'm taking more questions, man. We got 10 more minutes. Even from Clubhouse. Anybody got questions on Clubhouse regarding real estate, regarding the multifamily, 1 to 4 units or whatever, down payment assistance program. You can go watch the PowerPoint, but if you have direct questions you want answered, you can go ahead and ask them, and I'll answer them. So
in between now and when we apply for the first property or start reaching out to lenders, what else could we start doing in the in-between time?
in between time is getting used to the information I put out there, because I always mention this too. There's certain acronyms that you're gonna get hit with by the agent, by the seller, by the lender, that you would need to know, right? And this course right here, that I just did right now, the PowerPoint presentation, this tells you the step by step on how to go about it. But you would have to first, because I'm gonna do scenario tests in the future. Like, anybody that's interested, they feel like they got it down packed, I'm gonna walk you through a deal, and I'm gonna say, okay, this is the property, this is what it's making, this and this and that. Is it a good deal? How do you gonna go about it? Right. I'm also doing a step-by-step program, but in the meantime, right, it's getting familiar with the information, the acronyms, the questions to ask lenders. If I say something, know what I'm talking about, because guess what? When you go buy a property, the agent ain't gonna sit there and school you. Right? They ain't gonna school us. They ain't gonna tell us, yo, this is and that. They just there to get their percentage. Listen, you want this property? I'm here. Even though they're helpful if you ask the right questions, that's why they're not gonna go in there and just tell you things. Let you get a good agent, right? A good agent's gonna tell you a lot of information, but even then, you come with your own set of questions and you get your own information regarding what you need to know. So they're not gonna tell you, listen, this and that, this and that. They're gonna give you, let's say if a person didn't know what ARV means, right? And the person says, ARV could probably be 380, pretty good. And you're looking at him like, fuck is that? What's ARV? You know what I'm saying? You're like, what's going on here? What's ARV? And it's kind of like, I can't ask them. Because then they'll give me that definition, but then there's other acronyms that you probably throw out that I'll have to keep asking and asking. So the whole thing is getting the information and the tests, right? The test. Like if you look at the information, y'all look at the courses, y'all look at the presentation, y'all say, I'm ready. Y'all come to me and I'll go, okay, I got a deal right now. I'm gonna throw it at you. I'm gonna see if it's a good deal or it's a bad deal. What you think? Right? And that'll be like the determining factor whether you're ready to go out there and do it, because I'll be guiding you as well, or you still need a little more practice, or you still need learn a little more of this, a little more of that. So that'll be determined based on the scenarios I'll give y'all in the future. But for now, just learning, just learning the information, getting familiar with it. And then I'll have also classes where I'm gonna ask questions to brothers on the panel, or people that's listening and can unmute their mics and all that. I'm gonna ask them questions, and then y'all would have to know these questions in order to even move forward. So that's how I'll be doing it. And we got like 7 more minutes, taking more questions.
If anybody's in Clubhouse and they have a question, just raise their hand. I'll bring them up to the stage. Ask the question.
I guess the only other question I got is typically the approval process with the lenders. How long does that usually take?
So each lender varies. Again, it'll be like, because their thing is they're trying to get in business with you as soon as possible. So if there's any requirements like certifications you need to get, 3-hour course, they'll tell you right away, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. And as soon as you finish, come back. But normally you could close on the property within the first month. Right? And normally what happens within the first month to 3 months, right? The longest being the 3 months. Right? Depending on how the program moves and and their closing days. Some programs close earlier, some programs close a little later, depends on the program though.
So is this like, you know what I'm saying, common found information, or is it just that like niggas ain't supposed to know this?
It's both. I gotta say it's both, because what happened is this is not commonly taught. So it's not in the elementary schools, in the high schools, and it's not even in colleges. So this information, a lot of times you'll get from the investors themselves that have been in the game for a long time, that got other connections, that know other people, that know people, right? And that's how I did it. I got information from people that's doing it, that's been doing it in the game for a minute. Shout out to my brother Zakaria, right, in my camp, Lines of Israel. He actually put me on to the basics, and then it was up to me to step forward and continue, right, learning more information that I didn't have. So all the information I didn't have, I had to go out there and put in that work to find out. Certain even trials and errors, like, damn, I done messed up on this one, but there's a learning lesson because I never knew that, right? Even that. So now going into a deal is like, it's I know how to fully teach it, but it's not commonly taught out there. And I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of times, I gotta be honest on the other side. a lot of times you teach people this stuff and niggas don't want to listen. Right? Niggas is just like, oh yeah, I'll put it off, or it sounds good, and they won't fulfill it, or you know, oh, that's hot, but they won't make moves. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things, you know, with Jake is always procrastinating and nah, you know, I'll do this later, I'll do that later, right? And never get nothing done. So it's a mixture of both. It's not commonly taught, right? And also I gotta say, there's a lot of scammers out there. A lot of scammers discouraged a lot of people, right? A lot of scammers, you know, scamming people, yo, pay me this for this. They get one course for 15 minutes and then it's like they won't hear from them again. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's also that, you know, but there's a whole combination of things, King. But yeah, man, the beautiful thing is that those that's with it, you know, those that's really gonna put in the work and really, you know, dedicate themselves. Listen, man, this is a better situation for you, your family, your children, right? Retirement, because one of the things I'm teaching too is financial literacy, and also, you know, what are you gonna do in retirement, right? What are we gonna do? We can't work till we 80, 70, right? We want to chill in those years. So our job is to find out ways to make passive income, let the money work for us and not work for the money. Even if you're working for the money now, it's gonna come a time where we won't be able to physically do certain things. We'll be like, damn, we limited in jobs, but we unlimited in opportunities in real estate. You get what I'm saying? That's where you want to be. So, you know, yeah, man, it's important. For me, it's important. That's why, like, what I'm teaching now, other investors would charge you thousands of dollars to know, right? All the information I'm going over now, they'll tell you, join my program. You know what I'm saying? It's $20,000, $30,000, and you could get it funded, right? And all that, you know what I'm saying? Just make a payment plan. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, you know, especially with people that been at the bottom, and they out people, and then they over there charging that amount, knowing what it's like, knowing we're not taught this stuff, knowing we didn't grow up on this stuff, it pisses me off. So I'm trying to, you know, combat that. And even if I charge in the future for certain people that's our people, it won't be no damn thousands of dollars like that. It'll be a fair fee, because it's only occupying my time the more people I get, you know, sent to me. But other than that, man, I want our people to get this information, run with it, and I want to see brothers on this panel, on the chat, Clubhouse. I want to see y'all prosper too, man. Right? Money is a defense. The scripture says money is a defense. So we got to use money to defend ourselves. Especially they replacing jobs with robots right now. They got all these type of robotic, you know what I'm saying, programs and robots that they're making to replace jobs. And by like, you think about 2030, a lot of these corporations are going to be using those things. And that's a skill we got to get into now, which is technology, right? Because that's going to be the future of you know, of the plantation, so to say. But yeah, man, it's a combination of all things, King, you know what I mean? But, you know, I know at least a couple of brothers going to take this and run with it. And, you know, that'll be a testimony to say, listen, we could do it if we put our mind to it.
So then, all right. So personally, you know what I'm saying? I would apply, see if I could transfer it over into a trust, right? But then I asked you something about out of state. Let's say I wanted to do this somewhere else. So when it comes down to like a method of, if I was to get a PO box, start a LLC, build up the business credit, and then look for a lender through the LLC, would I be able to do it out of state?
See, they don't do it for LOCs. That's the thing. Okay. So for LOCs, that's a different entity. They don't do grants or you know, programs for LOCs. You know, although it's possible. Let's see, LLCs is more used on the commercial side for 5 properties and 5 units and above in real estate, because you can't even use the programs for 5 units and above. That's considered commercial, so there's no programs for that. So what happens is a lot of big time investors, what you will see is that they'll use the first time home buying programs, build enough equity and have enough passive income to be able to take that capital and invest in a hard money lender to invest on a commercial property.
Okay.
Right? Because hard money lenders, they deal with the commercial side. They finance 100% of their renovation, but they only require like 5% down on your side, which you could use the capital that you used, you know, that you have on your other properties to put that down payment. It's not really much. You see what I'm saying? So
I got you. So start here, build the capital, and then transfer over into commercial.
Exactly, because it'll be no money out your pocket, literally using the properties to pay and finance all your deals. Especially with the hard money lender. The hard money lender, you got distressed property, $30,000. Let me see something real quick. You get property, what? Let's say $40,000, distressed property, right? They tell you put 5% down. That's $2,000 for a $40,000 distressed property that they financed 100% renovations for. So, matter of fact, let me share my screen. I thought I was sharing my screen. My bad. Hold on. Right, so with a hard money lender, what happens is, let's say they require 5% down for a distressed property that costs $40,000. You're trying to add value to take out the equity. You could refinance, cash out, or you could sell it. I'd rather refinance, cash out because I won't get taxed on it and then sell it. That's another story, right? So $40,000, you put 5% down. That's $2,000. You making $10,000 from the properties already, or $4,000. You take $2,000 from that. Give it to the hard money lender. They finance 100% of the rehab in 3 months, 3 to 4 months. Everything is fully rehab. And let's say the rehab, the purchase price is $40,000, and the rehab is $30,000. The after repair value most likely will probably be, let's say, $150. So you minus $70,000 from that, because that's what it took you to renovate and purchase the property in total, right? Now you have $80,000 that you could take out from that property in equity. Now you go to a lender, refinance, cash out. The lender would pay the hard money lender off for the $70,000 that he gave you, and now you get an extra $80,000 because the property, the value is now worth $150,000. You understand?
Yeah, copy.
Yep. So that's how that goes. And like I said, once you, and the thing, the reason why I say too, let's start with the, with the first time home buyer crayons and baby steps, is because once you get into the real estate game, you know how it is to be a landlord. You get used to it. You get used to learning how to screen tenants. You get used to, the whole vibe. You're not rushing yourself. You're not putting yourself in stressful situations like, oh damn, I don't know what to do. Damn, the first time I felt like this. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you gotta ease yourself into it to get and then also to gain more knowledge. Certain things that you may need to see in the property yourself to be able to say, okay, I experienced this and now I know what to do for going forward. You see what I'm saying? And then after a little while, you get used to it. You say, okay, cool. It's all good. I know the knowledge I need. I know how to work it. I know how to get 10 and 10. I know how to do all of that. And I had my property for 5 or 6 months. I need the knowledge. I got the knowledge I required. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm able to, dip and dab into other things. But just get the feel of it first, coming into it with less stress and less responsibility as possible. And then you'll learn everything else as you go.
So I guess my last question is, you have a 4-unit, right? You have to live in one for, let's say, 2 years. You said on paper.
Right.
So what's the loopholes with that? How does that function?
Ain't no loopholes. It's really just on paper. Let's say 156 Lenox Ave. I live, that's where the property is at. That has to be my primary residence on paper. So if any application or any job, anything asks me for my primary residence, it would have to be 156 Lenox Ave.
Anybody come and check up on that?
Nah, at all. And that's the thing. You don't have to physically be there.
But that unit would have to be open.
It would have to be open, but here's the thing. On the low, you got a family member. Yo, you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to say too much. You know what I'm saying? Well, but
I understand.
Yeah.
And my aunt visits.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, King. So that's that type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
It would have to be open, but here's the thing. On the low, you got a family member. Yo, I got to mute you, Yana. Unless you got a question, because you got background noise. You got a question, Yana?
And my aunt visit.
Okay, yeah, he a little delayed. But yeah, listen, I know I said 155, and I got 5 more minutes. I'll take 5 more minutes to answer any questions. Normally, I'll do this like every Sunday, and what happens is every Sunday you're gonna see me go over some of the same things over and over again, because this is how you embedded into your mind certain things. Like,
no, my mic was muted.
Yeah, no, because you had background noise. I had muted you, King. But yeah, go ahead, ask your question, brother.
I'll take
Yeah, I think you delayed, King. I'm not sure what's going on, man. Ever since you moved to Texas, bro, you know what I'm saying? You done changed, man. Even your phone changed, bro. You know what I'm saying?
my mic was muted. I gotta keep turning it on just to talk.
Yeah, I hear you now, though, King. Go ahead. Yeah, you see, I'm not sure. Yeah, you there? I'm on. I don't know, man. What's going on? What's going on? Yeah. Your phone got to be pent, brother. Your phone got demons, man. I don't know what's going on. You probably have to come back in. Try to go out and come back in, right? I still got 5 more minutes. Try to go out and come back in. I'm not sure if it's that. Can't unmute your guests because they chose to mute themselves. Yeah, so you muted, King. You muted yourself. But in the meantime, while Johanna comes back, man, I'll take more questions if anybody got any questions.
Beautiful teacher McGunn. The water. I just want to add.
Try to go out and come back in.
You know,
Can you hear me now, McGunn?
Yo, Zakari, let me get Johanna real quick. Slocky, you know, because his phone can't. Yeah, good. Yeah, Johanna.
But in the meantime, while Johanna comes back, man, I'll take more questions if anybody got any questions.
Oh, damn. I'm going to have to call this brother, man, because his joint is all the way delayed. Sheesh. Hey, man, hold on. Let me remove you, and I'm going to add you back. Yeah, Johanna, you there?
Yeah, I think it's a delay, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely delayed, man. I'm telling you, listen, man, just get rid of the Obama phone. You know what I mean? I got you, brother. It's all good. You know what I mean? I'm messing with you, bro. But yeah, I guess, listen, Johanna, me and you, I'll call you afterwards and we'll kick it personally. You'll let me know what's going on. All right? But in the meantime, I'll just take other questions from the audience or the panel or the comment board or whatever. A brother said, will this video be available later? Yeah, so just for certain reasons, for now, it's unlisted, it's not public. So what you want to do is copy the link and save it, right? Because it won't show, it's not going to show public on my page. For certain reasons, that'll change in the near future. But for now, everything I do is unlisted and it's not public. So just save the link, brother, put it in your notepad, and anytime you want, you can go back to it. It won't be private, but it will be unlisted. Okay, and yeah, and I was touching on earlier too. Every Sunday, 12 p.m., I'll be doing, a real estate class, and I'll be going over some of the same things over and over again. Like I was saying, because these things is really important to know, right? And once you get yourself used to it that you're telling me that then that's where I want y'all to be. I want you to repeat, right? Whatever's taught in terms of knowing how to break it down and break it down to me. If I was to ask, or anybody was to ask you, I want to have you, equipped enough to know how to answer certain questions, right? So in real estate, like I said, it's all about the knowledge, all about what you know, it's all about the wisdom going into these deals, right? You look up a lot of stories, a lot of people go into real estate and they get a bad deal and they say, the hell with real estate. I ain't doing this. Real estate is a scam. It's not. And it all because they went in there not knowing what the hell they was doing. That's a fact. A lot of people go into deals just to say they want to have a property, right? A lot of dudes, they don't know what the hell they doing. So we definitely not going to be those type of people. I'm always here, right? If you have any questions, you can always hit me up, whether it be in the chat, whether it be in the back chat in Clubhouse, in the message or whatever. You can always hit me up, right? But those who do the program in the future, the step-by-step program that I'm gonna provide for brothers and sisters, that's going to be a step-by-step guidance, literally. So again, I want to test you out even before that, because I want you to be up there with knowledge first, and then we could dip and dive into, getting that bread and all that. So yeah, man, 3 more minutes, man. I'll take questions. 3 more minutes.
Just would like to add, McGunn, if I may. Make sure y'all take your time and get the basics, man. The basics and the fundamentals of this is very important. Know how to calculate your NOIs and know how to deduct your expenses and know what the property costs, make sure you have a basic understanding of how to do due diligence on the property. The fundamentals of it is what's very important. But that way, you won't fall into the trap like what the brother just spoke about. Oh, I was just jumping to a deal. I know what's going on, and now you in over your head. You don't know what's going on. You don't have an exit strategy. You don't understand what's even happening. You don't want to be in that type of situation. You want to understand and kind of know everything, every step of the way. So that's what the brother is emphasizing. Focus a lot on the basics, the fundamentals. I land that.
Right, crucially important. Crucially important. Good point, brother. It's crucially important, man. So, yeah, I'll take questions. I'll take more questions.
Just shameless plug. I'm an electrician, just so y'all know.
Oh, all right, no doubt. Listen, you could be your own contractor when you get your property. You don't even need an electrician. That's the beautiful thing about it. And guess what? If you get an LLC and as an electrician and you pay yourself, you can write it off. Ooh, side note. My bad. Side note. Yeah, man, that's what's up.
Copy.
I know the car. I gotta give them a little Jews in there, you know what I mean? So they kind of like, see what's going on. Like, cause I'm telling you, man, this, when I got the knowledge and I got into the game, man, it's like there's really no other game out there, you know what I'm saying? Unless, brothers is very skilled in their craft and all that. But, in terms of passive income and really making, good money and all that, real estate is one of the top ones up there. You know what I'm saying? Automatically. In all generations and all centuries, real estate has always been one of the primary sources of, resources and income. Always. Right? So, and that's another thing in the future. I want to bring other brothers up too that's knowledgeable in the field, right? Other Israelites, other brothers and sisters of our people that's knowledgeable that I'm also connected with as well. Other people that's gonna, they down with the credit thing, right? Others to teach you more about the LLC benefits, others to teach you more about the trust benefits and things of that nature. Everybody in their own department, you know what I'm saying? But this is just, like I said, a beginner's guide into getting into the real estate with no money out of pocket. But I'm taking questions though. I know I said 2 more minutes, but literally just 2 more minutes. I'll answer any questions right now. If y'all have any, if not, next Sunday we'll be on again 12 p.m. Same thing. All right, going once. Going twice.
Hey, I just want to take the water for the info, Hebrew.
No doubt, King. All praise to the Most High. You know what I mean? I'm grateful to even being able to acquire this information to pass it forward, man. Us as Israelites, our duty is to make sure we can better our people in every way, shape, and aspect, whether it be spiritually, physically, or financially, man. So whenever I get the game, I just make sure I pass it down to the brothers, man. I ain't cheap with it, you know what I mean? So all praise to the Most High, though.
All praise to the Most High. To our blessing, Israel definitely needs this. The water king.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, McGunn, now the YouTube, you can watch that later. Somebody else, like I said, tell my sister to watch it later, right?
Yeah, she could watch it later. You have to send her the link directly, personally, because it's not listed in public on YouTube. So once you send the link, she'll be able to replay it as many times as she wants. Just tell her to make sure to save the link. You know what I mean?
Con.
Yeah. All right, man. So I guess we're about to close out. But yo, man, hey, I ain't gonna lie. I love this beat. I gotta close it out at least for 30 seconds, right? You know what I'm saying? I love this beat, man. Let's get it. This beat is fire. Yeah, you know what I mean? Anyway, if you go get that money, Israel, you know what I'm saying? There's no praise to the Most High. I'll see y'all shot. Again, I'll be on next week, 12 p.m. Any questions brothers have, y'all can mark it down. Ask them next week. Y'all could, you know, after I do PowerPoint presentation, y'all can ask me questions or whatever. And yeah, man, let's get to this bread, man. Let's get to these, you know, laws and commandments. Let's get to the economic parts as well. All praise to the Most High, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. I hope y'all got edified. Most High bless all y'all brothers and sisters listening on Clubhouse and on YouTube. And with that, I'm going to say shalom. Kum yashala.
Hey, Shalom, Shabrak Da.
Let's get to this bread.
Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Barakatham.
Economic part.